Good morning. Everybody hopefully had fun at the keynote. So my name is Jason Proctor. I'm a solutions specialist with IBM Orchestration and Cyber Resiliency. And then joining me up on stage is Jordan Shamir. He's an offering manager with IBM Watson and Cloud. We are here to talk to you guys today about being able to address your disaster recovery needs across any physical, virtual, platform-based cloud environment, all within IBM. Obviously, everybody's seen resilient and ready, resilient and ready, resilient and ready. Well, we've gone from a point where recovery did the job, it broke, you fixed it, to now resiliency is key. Resiliency is much greater than recovery. You can bend, but you can't break. In this always-on environment, you need to have that ability to bend but not break, because always-on translates into a lot of different things. 40 years ago, back in the 80s, we all backed up to tape. We had a few days, maybe a week to recover our environments, whatever the case may be. Fast forward into wave 2, the media changed, so we went to disk instead of tape, but the backup policies were pretty much the same across the board. Into wave 3, that's when the software got more intelligent. We're still doing it to disk, but it was more streamlined. It was faster, it was easier, it was your ability to recover in hours or minutes. But in this age, and for a couple of different reasons, you have to be predictive, you have to be orchestrated, you have to be resilient, especially in light of the new disaster is cyber. I mean, let's call it what it is. The new disaster is cyber. You're more likely to get hit with a cyber incident than you are with any act of God, tornado, storm, anything else along those lines. So you have that ability that you have to be always on. You have to be minutes to zero downtime. And that's kind of where everything is going. One of the big keys around this, where we have to have an orchestrated framework, is the simple fact that our environments are more complex. You've got all the as a service. You've got your PaaS, your infrastructure, your software coming in all different directions. You have different platforms that you're working on, not just x86 virtual, x86 physical, but iSeries, mainframes, AIX, different platforms that require different replication technologies that you have to manage across the board. Well, if you don't have a tool to help you orchestrate that beyond your standard runbooks, and you don't have the tools to automate that, that takes a lot of time, effort, and energy, extending out the amount of downtime, being less resilient and more from a recovery base. Percent of folks, I mean, that pretty much speaks to itself. If you go down, you lose revenue. If you go down, you lose reputation. You go to a website and it's down, you go to the next website of their competitor. It's just how it works these days. Everybody has to be on, everybody has to be ready. So if you're not there and you're not available to your customers, whether they're internal or external customers, they'll go somewhere else. And I talked briefly about cyber, and I won't go completely through this slide, but give you kind of an idea. Cyber is the new disaster. The problem is nobody really knows how to deal with it. Nobody knows how to address it. As of late, the way to address it was, okay, pay the ransom. Take City of Atlanta. They tried to pay the ransom. Didn't work so well. They pulled the pay site. First 30 days, reported $2.6 million so far in cost to recover from that cyber attack, from that ransomware attack. The ransomware started at $55,000. That's the kind of damage that's happening. It's getting more and more and more critical, and ransomware attacks are doubling year over year. So the average total cost, according to the Pony Mount Institute, a report that we released about a month and a half ago at IBM Think, $3.62 million is the breach, average cost. The one down in the lower left-hand corner, 310 plus million. One company impacted by NotPetya. That's Maersk. It's well documented. They're a public company. They had to take that charge in third quarter of 2016 because of the disruption caused by that attack. It's a lot of money. And now you have a 25% chance of being impacted by a data breach sometime over the next 2 years. It's not if, but when. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jordan. He'll talk a little bit about how IBM Cloud is helping everybody.
Thanks. So, IBM Cloud is, one facet of IBM. IBM is, everyone knows it's multifaceted. We have our services division, we have our systems division, we have our cloud division. And the beauty with Zerto is that Zerto is not just for IBM Cloud, right? Zerto is for, IBM Resiliency, Cloud Migration Factory, and really kind of showing how Zerto is really integrated into the IBM family, right? So obviously there's Zerto and IBM Cloud. So Zerto is actually IBM's cloud default disaster recovery and IT resiliency tool. So when we really kicked off or integrated Zerto about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, it was the only DR tool we had for virtualized infrastructure in our cloud. Zerto, because of being an industry leader, right, the sub-minute, 15-second RPO times, RTO times kind of unmatched, we thought this is the best tool we need to provide, the utmost uptime and really customer satisfaction, right? As Jason said, you don't want to be down, and frankly, you can't be down. We live in, a 24/7, 365 world where people want what they want and they want to get it now, right? So if you're down, it affects everything. So, it's fully integrated into IBM Cloud. It's fully integrated onto our VMware portfolio, right? A native VMware environment in the cloud, turnkey, can spin it up and deployed within hours. And same with Zerto. Zerto is automatically deployed for you in the cloud. You don't have to worry about configuring the ZCM, so Zerto Cloud Manager. It's all deployed for you within a couple clicks of a button, right? Second is IBM Services. So when I talk about IBM Services, it's really kind of our GTS and our business partner ecosystem, right? But if we think about GTS Resiliency, right, we have 3 offerings that have Zerto in it. Data availability as a service, disaster recovery as a service, and orchestrated disaster recovery as a service, which is something Jason will touch upon later, but it's essentially, automating orchestration, allowing you to reach these RPO and RTO times by essentially eliminating a lot of the manual work that comes with orchestration and making sure that you're up and running. And lastly, it's a new offering from IBM Cloud Migration Factory. So IBM Migration Factory is cloud agnostic, right? They work with any cloud, any customer. If you want to go from on-prem to on-prem, from AWS to IBM to AWS, completely cloud agnostic, and they focus on just providing migration services, right? So being integrated into IBM, so why was it fully integrated is because it provides, enterprise level, data protection, right? I think one of the biggest things, came out from development with Zerto is the one-to-many, right? We're living in a world that is multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, and, frankly, we support multi-cloud. We believe in multi-cloud. We want to, avoid vendor lock, and we don't want to have all of your eggs in one basket. And, working with Zerto is really enabling this and providing this, disaster recovery as a service, as well as migration capability for all these enterprises. And it's very significant for us because it embodies what we're embodying, right? It's embodying the multi-cloud aspect, right? It's not just having one source, one target. And on top of it, it's really providing unmatched RPO and RTO times. No one has been able to provide that yet. And on top of that, the orchestration, which I'll save for later for Jason to talk about. So why IBM Cloud? So in all honesty, please be honest, who here knows that IBM has a public cloud? Raise your hand. Okay, getting better. Okay, every day it's getting better, slowly but surely, right? So the IBM Cloud is really exploding. By what I mean is we are one of the top cloud service providers in the world, right? Global footprint with over 60 data centers worldwide. And on top of that, why we were able to kind of reach this growth is because it's a lot of our strategic investment and focus, right? That's where our Watson, our blockchain, all of these buzzwords that you're hearing, it's all living in the IBM Cloud. And the reason also on top of that is, right, we listen to our customers, we hear what our customers wanted. And so if you think about it, the top use cases for IaaS in the world are data, essentially backup and archive, and disaster recovery as a service. And we've really built in unique functionality to optimize this for our customers, such as free network backbone and stuff I'll dive in the next couple of slides. On top of that, if you look at our GTS Resiliency, they are the leader in the Gartner quadrant, disaster recovery as a service in 2017. They were for 2016, and they were for many years going forward. So we thought ultimately we have a global network. We have the infrastructure to be able to host disaster recovery around the world. We have the managed services. We have the knowledge to be able to do it. how do we make this happen? How do we spur this growth? And what we did is partnering with Zerto, right? Industry-leading solution. I mean, you can't touch the RPO times. I mean, we've looked at other softwares, but nothing really provides that RPO and RTO time needed in this always-on world. So with Zerto and IBM and our experience with Resiliency, it was the perfect match for kind of going forward. And so when we put Zerto into the IBM Cloud, it was integrated into our VMware solution. So our VMware solutions portfolio is a native turnkey VMware environment in the cloud. So what this means is you don't need to refactor your workloads, no changing applications. It's just a turnkey environment in the cloud where you can literally lift and shift your on-prem environment to the cloud, control it in the same vCenter console. And this is really significant because one thing that we pride ourselves on and essentially listening to the customer feedback is we give our customers full hypervisor and bare metal access of everything we do at IBM. But when you think about VMware, right, and you think about Zerto, hypervisor-based tool, being able to have Zerto sit directly on the hypervisor, you don't need to API around public cloud to be able to get the RTO and RPO times you need. It's a completely native solution, right? And the beauty is once you've expanded or once you've landed in the IBM Cloud, you have access to all the other solutions beyond VMware solutions for IBM Cloud. You have access to our Watson, our blockchain, IoT, containers, Kubernetes, all the beauty in the of kind of the public scale cloud. So then Zerto on the IBM Cloud. I mentioned earlier, it's a clickable deployment. I mean, you can check us in the booth. We have a demo that shows you how to deploy Zerto on the IBM Cloud, but it's truly just 4 clicks in our IBM Cloud console. You pick your infrastructure, you pick Zerto, and you click deploy. In over 60 data centers around the globe. And one of the differentiators we have is it's completely automated. It's an automatic installed. It's completely provisioned for you. Once you click, it's up and running. You don't have to manually install anything. It's up and running in your target site. As I mentioned, full bare metal and hypervisor access. This is significant, right? Because all of you are here today because you love Zerto, you're using Zerto, or you're considering using Zerto. And what really made Zerto the company it is today is the RPO and RTO times. And IBM Cloud is truly just an extension of what you are doing on premises because of our exposure of our hypervisor and bare metal access, right? You get the same RPO and RTO times, same control and security because of the access we provide to you, right? So this is really significant and a huge differentiator for us that we view. And the second one is, who here has an IBM Cloud site? Anyone? It's okay, you can be honest. Okay, maybe one. Okay, so this is important though. So any customer that is in IBM Cloud, once you're deployed in IBM Cloud, so take this example, right? If you're deployed in Washington, D.C., and you want to have a disaster recovery site in Dallas, you can replicate out of availability zones into different regions at IBM Cloud completely free. You don't pay for replicating between IBM Cloud data centers. So we have a completely free inter-cloud network backbone, which you don't have to worry about security. It's all through our layer 2 abstraction level, all encrypted, dark fiber, all that good stuff, and it doesn't touch the public internet at all. So if you think about connecting your data centers or connecting your IT or having a disaster recovery site in a different region, one of the most expensive costs from a cloud perspective is the networking and the transferring between data centers, the replication between data centers. And at IBM Cloud, it's completely free, and this is very advantageous because it reduces one of the most expensive costs of having an inter-cloud environment. Lastly, everyone knows, I've mentioned RPO and RTOs, completely enabled and same native. So when I think about Zerto and Zerto in the IBM Cloud, I just think it's a native extension of Zerto. It's just an extension of Zerto, but in a cloud-like model, right? Same RPO and RTO benefits, no APIing around, just hypervisor bare metal access, and in a usable function. So what we do is we have a usage-based billing, right? You only pay for what you replicate. So if you replicate 20 VMs in the month of May, you pay for those 20 VMs. You can scale down to 15 VMs. You can scale up to 30 VMs. It's completely based off your usage, right? So we will never bill you for what you don't use. So global data centers. So I mentioned our inter-cloud network backbone, but this is also significant for us, right? So we have over 60 plus, and it's growing every quarter by probably 2 or 3 data centers a quarter of IBM Cloud data centers. They're all completely connected through the network backbone, and And all of these have these native VMware environments, right? And they can be managed, or they're unmanaged by default, but can be managed by GTS, any business partner. And so anyone here that's a cloud service provider, okay, cloud service provider. So if you're looking to expand, geographically, if you're looking to, burst, within your current data center, you don't want to build a new data center, it's super expensive. You can white label our offering, right? A completely unmanaged environment. You can completely white label it, put Zerto on top, put Zerto Cloud Connect, and create a multi-tenant DRaaS environment that's completely managed by you, right? So you can, white label our offering into any of our data centers around the world. So if you need geographic expansion, if you need expansion, within your area, and it's solely usage-based. You spin up the environment when you need it. And because of our automation, you can, add new hosts, you can add new clusters and new nodes, within hours. It's very, very seamless. And lastly, IBM is the largest operator of VMware workloads in the world, right? We are their largest cloud service provider. We're the largest, systems integrator, NSX, vSAN, all the acronyms that come with VMware. There are a lot of acronyms that come with VMware, which I'm coming to learn. But we are VMware's largest partner in the world. So I assume most of you here are also running, VMware, right? In some which or fashion. And for us at IBM, it's another day in the life is running VMware. So you don't have to worry about, a skills gap or, essentially training or, worried about giving it to a company or an individual that is not trained on VMware. We have thousands and thousands of individuals trained on VMware. And we've been doing actually disaster recovery as a service, thanks to our services division, probably for 50 years, so multiple decades. Different tools, obviously, over the past couple of years, but we have thousands of individuals trained just on disaster recovery, and we have tens and tens of individuals trained on Zerto specifically. So just a kind of a high-level summary of IBM Cloud, right? What are the benefits of Zerto? And like I said, it's just an extension, right? Bare metal hypervisor access, same RPO, same functionality of Zerto that you know and love, and ultimately brought you to this room. Physical and virtual. So with orchestrated disaster recovery, I won't give too much away because Jason's about to talk about it, but we provide an ability to manage, Zerto, use Zerto to provide DR for your virtual workloads, as well as, your physical workloads, all within the same tool and kind of command line for all your IT resiliency needs. Intercloud network backbone. Once you're deployed in IBM Cloud, you can replicate between any IBM Cloud data center, right? Dallas to Tokyo and everywhere in between, completely free and completely securely. Lastly, we support multi-cloud. You could fail from IBM to AWS, to Azure, to any, on-premise site, any other cloud, right? iLAN, TierPoint, whatever. You can fail back and forth very easily. And with this, I'm gonna kind of hand it off to Jason to dive a little deeper into the orchestration piece.
Thank you, sir. Good. All right, we're back on. So, how I talked before that you need to be resilient. You need to have that bend but not break. This is a tool, especially the more complex the environment is, that you need to, in essence, this type of style, this type of deployment, to ultimately reduce the DR test times, be able to test more. Because obviously the more you test, and the more you test application groups, and beyond just the simple, hey, I can fail this over and I can spin it up, I'm all good. We see that all the time. You need to be able to test application groups. You need to be able to test workloads with all the components, not just one piece of the application. You need to be able to orchestrate between maybe your Zerto replication, which does a phenomenal job, but you might have some database replication. You might have some storage-based replication. You might have mimics. You might have different replicators. Well, they all need to work together to, in essence, be able to bring you up. And you need to have that workflow planned out. You need to be able to automate that. And the less human interaction you have with that, the better off and the more seamless, because it becomes more consistent. It becomes more predictable. So you have a great experience every single time. Ultimately, what the orchestration tool does for you is it gives you that 75% reduction in people and resources for application failover, fail back. This also does that, but failover and recovery. And when IBM purchased the software roughly about 18 months ago, that's kind of where we started. As I mentioned before, the new disaster is cyber. Well, with cyber, you need to have tools to be able to recover, to be resilient within a cyber, and we'll get to that as well, because we've expanded the scope of this to include cyber. So ultimately, you're walking through this, and you have a clear dashboard on an application-by-application basis. You have a go, no-go, green or red. You know that you can recover at any given point in time. And if for some reason you're exceeding your recovery point objective, you're exceeding the potential of your recovery time objective, it alerts you. It gives you exactly where the issue is so you can go and remedy it right away. You don't have to go search. You don't have to cross your fingers and hope when you hit the button everything's going to work right. This gives you those tools on a single pane of glass. So how do we do it? Well, for starters, we have the Recovery Action Library, or RAL, for automation. We have roughly about 500 different instances built into that Recovery Action Library. So literally it's click, drop down, pick your source, pick what you're doing, build that workflow. And then you see there in the middle where you can actually fork out workflows. So you can do multiple things simultaneously. Everything working in conjunction with everything else, everything working seamlessly together to ensure that you have that environment back up and running. And you get to determine, okay, if this works, go here. If this doesn't work, go here. So you can kind of dictate exactly how you want your recovery to work. And we talked about the predefined patterns. One of the other things that you'll see on this one is that, of course we work with the application level, and this is just a small sample of the different workloads that we handle. But we also work at a network level. We work at an OS level. We work at the storage level, cloud level. We can spin up those instances in IBM Cloud or any other cloud. We can change those IPs and those DNS. We can automate the entire stack and be as involved or not as involved as you want us to be. But ultimately simplifying it, again, giving you that predictable, consistent experience every single time, whether it's a test or the real deal. So we talked about the 80% reduction in ultimately in time, 70% reduction in outage, but that 100% increase in frequency of DR drills. Test again, and test again. Test different business groups, test different workflows, test the entire environment, test individual pieces. This gives you that flexibility because you can build this as granular as you want to be able to test individual things, entire groups, all the way through the entire environment. So we talked cyber. Cyber's the new disaster. We have adopted the cyber resiliency lifestyle from the NIST cybersecurity framework. So it's proven. It's been researched, it's been developed. So ultimately, you need to, just like you needed to have a DR plan for years and years and years, we just extend that out to cyber. Okay? What happens if? Well, the problem with cyber is what happens if it comes in the front door, if it comes in the back door, if it affects your IPs, if it affects data. You've got a lot of different contingencies. So you need to protect it, discovering those vulnerabilities. You need to detect it, advanced analytics, not only at the front door, but also inside the environment as well. Be able to respond to that and be able to recover. Whether it's your data becomes corrupt, becomes encrypted, you need to be able to recover that in short order, hopefully without paying a ransom. So at IBM Think 2 months ago, we announced 2 different platforms for cyber resiliency that's an extension of the Resiliency Orchestration framework. Cyber incident for platform. So we're monitoring the config files, brute force attacks, things along those lines. Compare and contrast. If there's a change, there's a methodology in place to alert, verify that the change was either good or not good. If it wasn't a good change, be able to automate the golden copy of that config file back to the device that was affected. On the back end, for applications and data, being able to use immutable air gap storage, being able to apply analytics to that through IBM Security and other places to be able to scan those to ensure that they're good before you recover. One of the biggest ransomware attacks here recently is they attack the backups first. So if you go to one of your backups and you try to recover and it's already corrupt, it's already encrypted, you're just doubling your problems. In this instance, we put it off to the side. It's not on the network. It cannot be affected. and then we can build it out through sandbox environment to be able to scan it to ensure that it's clean before you bring it back. Your turn.
Thank you. So, I mean, this is not y'all's first rodeo, so this is not the first time you've heard someone come up and pitch, this is the cloud for Zerto, or this is your cloud for IT resiliency. So in order to shed some light, we wanted to provide a customer reference, and shed some light with some good pun, it wasn't intentional. So Osram Licht is actually one of the world's largest, light bulb manufacturer, kind of, big enterprise based out of Germany, and we actually just recently published a customer reference. So their ultimate goal was they wanted to transform by gaining agility and pursuing a multi-cloud strategy, right? They used our VMware environment or IBM Cloud, so it was a whole factor of tools, but what really enabled this was using Zerto for migration, right? They migrated all their virtualized workloads with Zerto, beating their essentially cutover time, so they did it quicker than they anticipated. And on top of that, within the same license, so within IBM Cloud, whatever license you use for migration, it can be used for DR too. So it's the same license, migration and DR, all bundled into one license. And the same license they used is providing unmatched disaster recovery RTO and RPO times, right? As Jason highlighted, cyber resiliency is becoming an everyday threat. DR is no longer a luxury, it's no longer an insurance, it's a necessity, right? It's something that you need to have to make sure that you're up and running so you don't lose consumer confidence or you don't lose potential revenue. And some of the highlights, right, from their executive team, right? Our multi-cloud strategy gives us the ability to react fast to new demands as we continue our journey in becoming a high-tech company, right? So kind of with the world of tech, right? A light bulb manufacturer, now they're working with autonomous driving. They need to stay innovative. They need to stay up and going, because I really like to think about it. I actually learned this at the ZertoCon Summit is, IT is the heart of the business. If your heart can't, beat fast, if it can't, make sure that your environment's up and running, how are you going to do business? So enabling consistency, enabling uptime is essential for this world we live in, and essential for business. Regardless of your industry, you need to have your applications running, your website up, your e-commerce, whatever it might be. You need to have your IT being strong and essentially pushing your business. And lastly, this is just kind of highlighting the strength of IBM Cloud, right? I talked about VMware, briefly mentioned how you get access to all the other environments. I'm sure some people here run SAP, right? So we selected IBM because of their strong SAP platform as a service, cloud service solution, and their capacity to support a large carve-out project. And why I really like this use case, one, it obviously highlights Zerto, but it also highlights the robustness of IBM Cloud, right? We have a native VMware solution in our cloud that's automated. We have a native as well as automated SAP business and SAP platform as a service within IBM Cloud. So those are two major workloads that can all be bundled into one cloud, right? It really kind of speaks to the robustness that we have from a workload level, as well as we're continuing to, through partnership with, companies like Zerto, being able to expand by constantly innovating, constantly hearing what our customers and, potential customers want to have, right? And I guess kind of lastly, ultimately, we think IBM is perfect for IT resiliency in Zerto because, we have multi-tenant environments, we have single-tenant environment, we have GTS, resiliency and, our large business partner ecosystem and global presence, but ultimately, we're providing native usage of Zerto. There's no difference in how you use Zerto in IBM Cloud, either through, GTS or through IBM Cloud. It's the same functionality, it's the same tools, and ultimately what, caused Zerto to be such a large company that it is today. And we really just, as a whole, just want to say, thank you for Zerto for inviting us. Please visit us in the booth. Jason and I will be there, as well as, a whole kind of a group from IBM where you can ask specific questions, and we're happy to field them. And now that we have time, any specific questions from the audience?
Using the orchestration service, does that work with on-prem data center to DR or IBM Cloud, or only in the cloud?
Any to any. So it is agnostic from where to where. It could even be many to one to many. It's how it works best for you.
Guys, if you repurchase Zerto licenses, what then? Would it go into the IBM?
Yeah, so we actually just signed a new agreement where you can actually BYOL your Zerto license into the cloud. So you can leverage that too. Yes. Correct. Yep. Yep.
Say we have global, but also Europe has some GDPR. We're an American company and we don't want our data. We'll receive that.
I mean, you could. No, I mean, if you want to just segment your data just to, let's say, Dallas or DC, San Jose, you can absolutely do that. We have a global data center. It's more of a functionality and a capability. It's up to the customer if they want to use it or not. So for you don't have to worry about us, pushing your data to Frankfurt and being in GDPR violation. No. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there rack capabilities to take on physical infrastructure? I mean, you said you can manage physical infrastructure, but obviously you've got the IBM Cloud sitting in Oslo, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Is there separate capability to bring in an AS400?
Yeah, so within a lot of our data centers, with the orchestration tool, we have a colo facility, typically by the IBM Cloud facility. So what we can do is, say you have AIX and an I-series, and then you have a virtualized environment. We have orchestration on the top. We can manage those I-series and AIX workloads, have orchestration on the top, and having Zerto directly into the IBM Cloud Oslo data center, for example. Any final questions? Yeah.
So you were talking about the free replication, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're on this particular platform. So if I move my production on-prem data center to one in the IBM Cloud service,
Yeah.
absolutely replicated from free somewhere else within IBM.
Yeah. It doesn't matter where.
No space, payment or anything.
Well, I mean, you have to have the infrastructure there, or
I mean the DR side.
yeah, completely free replication between IBM Cloud data centers. Yeah, ingress is free too.
Good.
Any final questions? If not, we'll close.
Thank you, everybody. Much
Thank you.
appreciated.